Hello everybody, welcome once again to our channel. These are the three African brothers. I'm here with Fred from Africa and also here with Eugene, the African kid. All of us are here today to talk to you about the question of reparations. You know that in the context of African Americans and Africans for that matter, we have always had this discussion about reparations. Africans talking about the kind of challenges they went through, the persecutions that the white man put them through, and the kind of exploitation that happened in the African continent by the European whites. So there has been this topic where many people are talking about reparations, where the white majority or the whites who colonized Africa or who exploited Africans during the colonial period need to come and pay for the crimes they did. We also have another side where the Africans or the black Americans in the United States are also talking about the question of reparations, the kind of persecutions and slave trade that took place in America, whether the white majority in the United States should pay the African Americans or the black Americans for the challenges and the persecutions they put them through. So today I want to talk about this topic, and I want our brothers here to give us their perspective about this issue. Do you people buy this question about reparations? What really do you think about it? First of all, what is your view about reparations before we take stance on what should happen?
Of course, I'm Fred from Africa, and this topic of reparation has been the talk of the day there in the social media, and many Africans and African Americans have had various views concerning this topic, because you see, when the king came to Kenya, let me start from there. He arrived in Kenya here on 31st of October. And we also saw the kind of reactions that Kenyans took on the social media about the king maybe ask for forgiveness, talk about payment of the sinful acts that they did to the Africans. But what disappointed me is that the king never touched on that, by the way. He never touched on it, and not even me alone. Even many Kenyans, me included, and even you included, were disappointed by the king, because we expected the king to touch on that, okay, but he never touched on it. So I believe that maybe it is something that they are going to discuss there when they go back to their land, or maybe they've just ignored it, because you know, once you are a king, you believe that you are final and you don't need to ask for forgiveness. So maybe that's how they think, or that's how he thinks. Okay, so maybe I'll talk about it more later when we continue with the discussion.
Yeah, so guys, I also think I have an input about that, because I tend to believe that everyone who, you know, for example, you've worked for a person for a given time and you need to be compensated for the works that you do. So I think it's just, and it's also right for, you know, people with African descent and our brothers and sisters from the diaspora to get their reparations. I think it's also imperative to, well, if everyone wants to be reparated, what are some factors that we should consider? Because everyone's reparation is different, and reparations are not same. The reparations from people from the Caribbean is different from the reparations of people in the United States. Reparations from people who are in Africa, it's also different. So these are things that we also need to discuss, while we also put in place that we need to be reparated as African or people with African descent.
But I would want to ask you, Eugene,
yeah,
do you believe there should be reparations, or it is something that should not be there? Because there are people who have different opinions. There are those who say there is no need for reparations, and some whites have said that this is giving blacks free money. So what is your opinion about it? As an African, what is your opinion about it?
As an African, I believe that everyone is entitled, every black is entitled to a reparation, okay? Because you tell me, yeah, you worked for a person for around 300 years, you worked for them and they never gave you a dime, and you wake up every morning working for them. Do you think you deserve to be paid? I'll return that question to you. Do you think you deserve to be paid?
If I've been working for somebody?
Yes.
And then?
Do you think you deserve to be paid for it?
Everybody, every labor must be paid for.
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to say. Every African or people with African descent, and majority the African Americans, because they are the people who are in the middle of this subject, they need to be reparated. And the most important thing is try to find what's the reparation of of a given group, because the reparations of people from the Caribbean might be different from the people from the African Americans, and the divisions and the intermarriages, it has some complexities, but at the end of the day we need to find a way, or we need to come up with a layout which shows that this group needs this type of reparation, this groups needs this types of reparation. For example, we have a group of African Americans who want to come back to Africa. We can offer them repatriation. We can give them free visas, what African leaders are trying to do now. Kenya, Tanzania, Ghana, and other countries like South Africa are trying Rwanda, yes, are trying to open up for, the African Americans to come back to their roots. Also, the question we should ask ourselves, how about the African Americans, or how about the Black Americans who want to remain in the United States? What kind of reparations will they get? Now, these are the questions that we need to ask ourselves as we talk about reparations. Yeah. So
from the onset, you are trying to put it to our audience that reparations is something that Black Africans or Black Americans must be given. It's something that they should get.
Yeah, it's something that they should get, because it's rightful. I would say like this. Today, you have wealth, a number of wealth, and it's a time, treat us a time when you want to retire. You'll write to your children. They'll take the wealth from you, right? And that's how people always do. Same with our brothers and sisters. Our forefathers are the people who worked. Now we are entitled to the things that they did, because we follow their lineage. We come from where they were. They are the blood that which are in our veins today. So I believe that same way, Africans, people with African descent, African Americans, Black Americans, they need to get reparated. I'll also insist on this. Let's find a way in which this reparation is, it's functional to everyone. Because some people don't want land, some people want land. Some people say that, give me 3 acres of land in Africa. I would like to go to Africa. Someone wants, give us tax-free while we are in America, because the cost of living is high. People have bills to pay in the United States. So some people will say that we want African culture be enacted in the education system of the United States. Some people also want that. So people's separation is different. That's what I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get your point. When you introduced the topic, you talked about the king visiting Kenya, and you were disappointed because there was this question about reparations that was not really addressed. Kindly expound for us.
Bro, in fact, the coming of the king to Kenya, or if you like, the East Africa, is something that many Africans actually opposed. Okay, they never buy the idea of the king coming to Africa. In fact, some of the Kenyans were disappointed by their own president. So what we expected as Africans, okay, we expect that when the king comes here, maybe he might feel guilty of what he did, okay, or they did, okay, and say that for what we did, we are going to pay Kenyans this much, because we understand the connection that is there between the royal family and the Kenyan, okay, and the Kenya as a country. There's a very big connection. So we thought that when the king comes here in Kenya, maybe that's what is bringing him here, to ask for forgiveness for all the wrongful things that they did to the Kenyans. But they never touched on it, okay? When you talk about reparation as a topic, reparation is something that I think has been a talk of the day with the African Americans and the Africans, okay? Let me say the African descent, okay? People, I've been speaking about this because if you understand the history of United States of America, the US that you see today was built by the African Americans, the blacks, okay? So I think if it is a matter of reparations, that should start from the USA. The US government should pay the blacks or the black Americans, okay? Because they contributed largely into the economy of the United States. The US that you see today, that beautiful US, is the blood and sweat of the African Americans. They should not even be taxed. Okay? What? Why are you laughing, bro?
So you want
they should not be taxed.
Americans to just be there without paying any tax.
Yeah, because they've worked for all those years without being paid, the way Eugene has just said. Like, just imagine you're working for someone for over 300 years, okay, without getting even a penny. The same person mistreats you, sees you like nobody, okay? It discriminates you. What's that? Okay? So I think if it's reparation, the African Americans should be paid first, okay? Because they suffered a lot, by the way, in the hands of the people that they don't know. They left their family here in Africa forcefully and willingly, went to the foreign land, then worked there without being paid.
I get the points you're trying to put across, because for me, Fred seems to be so animated when it comes to talking about the persecutions that the blacks went through, actually, especially in the hands of the whites in the United States. So that is something every African really feels. But then if you talk to some whites, they say that, like, I want to talk about the issue of reparations for Africa first before I go to African Americans, because both of them have different contexts. If you look at Africa, the white man came and to some extent exploited them, took their land, took their minerals, and took away their form of culture and everything. They destroyed a lot of cultural fabric that was there.
Until today,
it is not as it was before. So there was this Australian journalist who was talking about the king apologizing in Kenya, and he was saying that the king did not have to apologize because the British government gave Africa its independence
after long suffering.
Yes, I just wanted to listen to what the journalist was saying.
Yes.
He's saying that they brought civilization to Kenya. They also brought English language to Kenya, and there is no need for giving Kenya any free money. In fact, he was saying that apology will be followed by calls for reparations, and they are totally against British government paying anything to Kenyans because of the past atrocities that were committed by the British government. I don't know what you think about that.
I don't know. What's the name of that journalist?
It's called Bolt. It was in a show, in an Australian show. It's Bolt somebody. I have not had that name, the other name, but it's called Bolt somebody.
Let me tell you something, because you know, Africans, before even the coming of the whites or the white colonies, the Africans had everything in place. Africans had their government in place. Africans had their languages in place. We never asked for them to bring us English in Africa. Okay? Yeah. We had our languages. We were able to communicate. We had our religion. Okay? So we had everything in place. They came and destroyed everything, our structure, okay, our the way we were conducting ourselves. They destroyed everything. Then we were left confused.
They brought their education.
Now they brought their education
to teach you their things,
their Christianity, yeah. Okay, because okay, I don't know whether it's right when I say their Christianity,
their religion,
their religion, okay, yes. Yeah. So if someone has worked for you, okay, just the way you didn't say it before, the right thing to do to that person is to pay that person. Okay? These people, Africans worked for them in their farms in Africa and even outside Africa. without being paid. And leave alone that, some of the Africans, many Africans who are chased away from their lands, then that land given to a white person,
white settler,
or a white settler. Okay, is that not some? Is that not a crime? That's a crime. Okay, so these people, the only thing that maybe they could do right now is to first ask for forgiveness. Okay, they should ask for forgiveness, because until now we have people who are suffering because of
their
activities.
Yes.
Okay, there's families here in Africa today that are still affected, that were affected, and
who
still today,
rest of their land, not gotten back their land and anything.
Until today,
yeah,
we have them. Maybe he doesn't understand the pain that Africans went through, because he's not a black.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. I get your point. Now, that is something that is really controversial. So I want to come back to you, Eugene. This question, because I understand we have tried to give the aspect of the perspective of an African and the perspective of an African American. Yes. But then there is that white person who is looking at, he's born, let's say, he is in this generation, not born in the times when there were colonial activities or even the slavery activities. Yeah. So he's kind of saying, these people want free money from us. I want you to give me your perspective, because some of them look at it and say that Africans or African Americans are just finding a way of getting free money from us. We are not ready to give that, and we will not give that. If there is anybody to blame, let them blame our past ancestors, but not us, because we did not participate in those atrocities that have gone through. So kind of tell me, what is your opinion about that?
So first, I would like to nullify the word that the person says that they want to use our money. There's nothing like your money, because if
free money,
if it's an African, if it's the United States, because it has different groups and people pay taxes whether you're white or black. So there is nothing like your money. You understand that? Because I believe that in a nation, everyone pays taxes whether you're black or white. So you can't say that it's like there's a stashed a white money that Africans want, or people with African descent want. There's nothing like that. Number two, if there's a money which if there is money that they're claiming that's theirs, then it belongs to African Americans, because they're the people who is driving the United States economy, that the people who also have a big part in paying the taxes. So I don't believe that there is something like their money. If the money, we could have equated it that it belongs to a given group, then it is for the blacks in the United States, because they're the people who build the infrastructure that we are seeing today in the United States, that the people who engineered, the science and technology in the United States. So name it, every technology that you might see, maybe you're not told, but it is engineered by the blacks. So I don't know what kind of money that the person is trying to say. It is rightful to say that there are ways in which we can help you, but not saying that our money. Like,
I get you.
What money?
I get you there. But then I've also asked you this question about a white person in America, in United States. He does not know about the slavery, because he or she was not born during that time, has not seen slavery taking place, and does not understand why an African American is calling for reparation right now, because he's seeing that why do these people call for such kind of things, yet we are all born equally. Because if it is about poverty, even whites are poor in the United States. They are saying even blacks are poor in the United States. So why should one person get a preferential treatment over the other persons?
There is a huge disparity between the blacks and the white community in the United States. Economically, educationally, health-wise, there is a huge disparity. The reason as to why African Americans are pushing for this reparation is that they want to bridge the gap that's between them, be it education-wise, be it, the whites in the United States have higher chances of getting jobs as compared to a black person in the United States, and that's true. These people just want this reparation. The way I just told you before, people's separations are different. Someone, a black in the United States or African American in the United States, they might have money, they might have everything, they can afford everything, they have their crib, they have their mansion, in the United States, but they feel like they are underrepresented, like the African culture is underrepresented, and they do not know much about Africa, and they might not want to go to Africa, but they want to learn about Africa in the United States. You understand that that's a type of reparation that they need to get. And you see, it doesn't involve having money or not having money. So I can nullify a person who is coming and question an African or an African American that they have nothing to claim. They have a lot of things to claim. Number two, something which they have to claim is there is a huge disparity in education system. The African Americans, we have them championing education system, but you see, opportunities are not given to them. Okay, there's a podcast that I show in sports, in NBA. African Americans are not given chances. For example, if 4,000, I'm quoting this from a given podcast that I show, if 4,000 African Americans have qualified for the NBA, you'd find that at the end it's only 35 African Americans will be chosen for the NBA. The remaining people will be other races. But you see, in these sports, it is African Americans who champions them, and we always see this. So this huge disparity, people want to be compensated. It's not entirely about money, but of course we can measure things using the value of money, but it is not entirely about money, because money cannot pay the culture in which African Americans who are now in the United States, which they were robbed from, because some African Americans doesn't know their culture. What about the black consciousness? A person who is confused whether they are Americans or Africans. Is that something you cannot pay with money? You understand? So I tend to believe that we, as people from African descent, we know what we want, and everyone has what they want as the type of reparation. For the people who want money, yes, because we have huge disparity when you talk about wealth accumulation. The whites have large number of companies in the United States as compared to the blacks. They have a lot of businesses, a lot of cars, a lot of things to show. But what about the blacks who played part in these things? You understand that? Coming back to Africa, up to date, they are still taking resources from Africa. Okay, our resources are still taken. They are confusing us with civil wars, and then when Africans are not concentrating on their mineral resources, people are fighting up and down. Those people are busy mining our resources, taking them to the United States, building their industries, powering their machines. You understand that? They're taking our mineral resources until date. So Africans still need to be reparated, because up till to date we are still being exploited. Maybe not everyone talks about this, but it is true. We are still being exploited. So it is rightful for the people from the African descent to ask for reparation. It is 101% rightful for them to ask for this.
Someone says that he doesn't see the need of Africans being reparated, and this is a white guy. Everyone who is alive today in this 21st century, nobody was there when the slave trade was taking place. I was not there. You're not there. My grandfather was not there. My immediate grandfather was not there. Okay? Even his father was not there. But there is this family, okay, that felt the pinch of the slave trade. Okay, for example, someone came and took your child forcefully. Where will you take this person? When you know that person,
yes,
what step will you take as
somebody should be dealt with by the authorities?
Exactly.
He should be arrested if you can get him.
Exactly. So I think the Africans and the African descent, okay, are like the example of a family whose maybe sibling were kidnapped. So the guy who kidnapped my brother or my sister, and I know that guy is Victor or is Eugene, okay, I'll go and tell Eugene, my friend, you took my child, you took my daughter, you took my son, and you must pay for this. And that's what Africans are asking for today.
I get you.
Yeah. Because it is their right, it is lawfully their right to be paid. Because they were robbed, some of the families were killed, some of them were tortured. So nobody was there, even himself he was not there, even my grandfather was not there, my mother was not there. This thing happened over 500 years ago. Nobody is alive today. So when we see such structures here in Africa, it reminds us of what happened 500 years ago. So even though we laugh or smile outside, but we cry inside, because the slave trade took our brothers and sisters, who until today we don't know where they are. We only meet via the social media, we talk. So I think the Africans are now awake, and they know what happened. Okay, now if they demand for the reparations, I think it is their right to be given that reparation. For maybe at least to forget some of the things that happened, which we cannot forget. I remember when Kenya got independence, Jomo Kenyatta said that we shall forgive, but we shall never forget. Okay? Yes, we shall forgive them, but we can't forget. That's why we still have those structures. We still have the statues here in Africa. Okay, we can't destroy them, because that history is very important. So Africans are good people. They'll forgive you, but they won't forget. Okay, that's why we allow them here in Africa. They come and see the structures that they built, like Fort Jesus. They go to Ghana, they see those structures, they see our animals. It means we don't have anything against them. Okay, we love them. But what we only need from them is stand up and say, I'm sorry for what happened, okay, and please forgive us. Only that. Return some of the lands that you guys took. We shall be okay with that.
So if you look at the discussion that we've had, each and every party has agreed with the fact that African Americans in the United States should be reparated, and those Africans in Africa should also get some form of reparations. And one of the port of call is that European countries must return some of the important artifacts that they took from us. You remember, even in Ghana, many of them were taken from there, in Senegal, and they are stored in museums in Europe, like in France has one of the largest museums storing things they stole from Africa. So all of us agree with the fact that reparations remain important and they must be paid. And anybody who might be thinking that it is free money, it is not, because looking at what Africans have gone through and looking at what African Americans have gone through in the United States, it is just fair that those who are responsible for these activities compensate for the things that they did. That is it from us today, the three African brothers. Please remember to subscribe to our channel. All of us have channels. I have AfriPost. My brother Fred from Africa is Fred from Africa, his YouTube channel, and then we have the Eugene the African Kid, who is also having his YouTube channel. So until we meet again next time, adios.
Adios muchacha.